Okay, let's get straight into it. You can see here, I'm looking a little bit untidy, a little bit unkempt. The hair is all over the place at the moment and I'm about to get into why. So what I've been doing over the past month, I've actually been attempting to grow out my thinning hair to see just how much my hair loss has actually progressed over the years. Just to go back a little bit for those of you who are new here, I've actually been balding pretty much since the age of 18. I've been dealing with thinning hair my whole life now, and it was around the age of 24 when I decided enough is enough. By the time I was 24, the hair loss had actually progressed so much, it was beginning to affect my mental health. It was giving me a lot of anxiety and confidence issues, and I knew I had to do something about it before it became a much bigger problem. Now, of course, I will say there is no right or wrong method in how you choose to deal with your insecurities, and in particular with hair loss. Some people like to go down the medication or transplant route. Some people like to go down the route of shaving their head, and for me personally, I just knew I had to do something that would benefit me for the long term. Now, don't get me wrong, at the age of 24, I could have chosen to carry on keeping my hair because it wasn't so bad that I couldn't still conceal it, but the problem was I was so mentally aware of the fact that I was concealing it. It was becoming a problem in this sense. And I think that when you mentally become conscious of the fact that you're concealing something you're insecure about, that's when it's time to actually deal with it and embrace it. And it was then at the age of 24 that I decided I'm going to shave my head and I'm going to move on from having hair altogether. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I gotta be real. I hated it in the beginning, I absolutely hated it. But the thing is, I gave myself that extra head start by doing it so young to adjust to the idea of it, and that's the thing. I think in the mind of a lot of young men out there, the idea of being bald is always associated with people who are older, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and when you're there in your 20s or even your early 30s and you start going through hair loss, it can be a blow. It can be a real blow, and it can remind you of the fact that you are a mere mortal and you are gonna age. It can often be that first sign of mortality for a lot of young guys out there as well. And I can say that was certainly the case for me. The thing is, when I did make the decision to shave my head, I could have actually chosen not to. The thing is, I actually gave myself that head start because I was aware of the fact that it was going to be a problem. As you can see now, I'm 30 years old, and you can see just how much this hair loss has actually progressed. And I just didn't want to get to this point and then have to deal with it being even more in an insecure place. I knew that if I held on to it, it was going to eat away at my life, it was going to eat away at my well-being and my confidence, and I just didn't want that for myself. I wanted to give myself that head start and adjustment phase to actually deal with this new phase of my life, actually deal with this new me. And that's something that I'll say to you guys out there who are dealing with hair loss. When it gets to a point where the hair loss is affecting you mentally, when it's starting to become an issue where you're scared of going outside the house, where you're scared of actually socializing with people, where you're scared of people noticing the hair loss, that's when you have to take a drastic measure. That's why I did it, and I feel like it was the best decision I could have possibly made for my well-being. Even though I hated it in the beginning, it ended up being one of the best decisions I could have ever made. Just liberating myself of that burden, not having to worry about it anymore, not having to wake up and worry about the fact I have to conceal it or comb it a certain way or apply a certain product to hide it. That liberation was just amazing. And now one thing I want to touch on is something that I've learned over the last 5 weeks of having this hair and walking around with this horrible receding hairline. Oh yeah. Look at that hair. I can legit comb my hair now. Firstly, I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. It sucked. In regards to my confidence, I've definitely felt myself plummet. In regards to my insecurities, I've definitely felt them start bubbling up again, just as they did when I was 24 years old all those years ago. And it's funny with these situations because sometimes subconsciously you don't even realize you're doing it, but it would be the simplest of things that I would avoid. For example, if I was going down the street and I didn't have a hat on and I had this on show, I would cross the road and I would put my head down in an attempt to hide away because I was so insecure about this hairline, the way I was looking. And it would only be when I got home afterwards that I would think back to myself, wow, I was actually trying every method I can to avoid people, to avoid making eye contact with people, avoid people seeing me generally. I was worried about people recognizing me and thinking, whoa, what's going on with your hair, Ricky? And it was literally like someone had put me in a time machine and sent me all the way back to being 24 again, because all those same fears and anxieties, I felt them bubbling up once again. Another thing I was doing subconsciously over the last month, I was always making sure to wear a hat when I was going out, and it was only in the last couple of weeks that I told myself, look, you're always reaching for that hat. You need to get used to just going out and realizing that it's okay to look how you're looking. There's nothing wrong with it. You may not feel great, but there's nothing wrong with it, and you don't need to worry about people pointing their fingers and judging you. It's no big deal. And like I said guys, there is no right or wrong method in dealing with hair loss. If you just want to rock your hair how it is and go out there and you feel okay about it, that's fine as well. You don't have to go for the head shaving route. But what I will say, and what I have found over the past month, is that you have to make sure you make an effort with yourself in order to make yourself feel as good as possible. What I mean by that is, I feel that when it comes to hair loss, when it comes to even things like aging as you get older, a lot of people tend to stop making an effort because of the things they've gone through in terms of their physical traits. You may be in a position right now where you're dealing with an insecurity like hair loss and it's making you feel like absolute crap, and I get it. But the thing I want to say to you is, if you choose to sit there with that insecurity and just let it eat away at you, you're not going to get ahead. If you choose to have a mentality that, oh, I've gone through hair loss, so there's no point making an effort doing anything else because I'm always going to be unattractive now, I'm always going to look horrible, I'm always going to feel horrible, then that's going to be your reality as well. And in that sense, it is so important that you do not give up on yourself. Don't let hair loss define you. There are so many people out there who will go through something like hair loss and allow it to be the sole reason as to why they no longer make an effort on themselves, and that is so detrimental. You got to give yourself that TLC. I know you may be sitting there right now watching this video and thinking, hair is such a big visual trait of mine, something that I rely so heavily on for my confidence. How am I meant to be myself if I lose that visual trait? But that is where you got to open your eyes and realize that you are so much more than that one visual trait. There is so much more to you, and it is a disservice to who you are if you put everything that you are on your hair. I guarantee there are so many other traits to you as a person that you haven't even taken the time to recognize because you've been so focused on this one trait that you've not given yourself that time to really appreciate who you are on the inside. So the message of today's video, and the lesson that I've learned over the last month, is to not give up on yourself just because you've lost a certain characteristic like hair. That's better. I feel like when it comes to hair loss, shaving your head is such a healthy expression to deal with it because you're letting go of the issue, you're liberating yourself first of all, but you're also making that effort to think, no, I'm not going to just sit there and feel defeated in every other aspect about me as a person just because I've lost this one trait. There are so many other traits about you, even visually, that you can work on to make yourself feel good. So, you know, go out there, make sure you're looking good, make sure you're keeping a fresh trim, make sure you're making that effort to give yourself that TLC you deserve to look good and feel good as well.